I'm Jackie Franchuli, and welcome to this edition of UMTV Spotlight. Well, 7 years ago, this country and the world changed when two planes were flown into both of the World Trade Center towers. Today, we welcome Michelle and Randy Rosado, a couple who has a strong tie to that very day. Michelle Rosado was on the 95th floor of the second tower. On that day, she was able to escape on that last elevator. Now, along with her husband, she wants to inspire others to grab hold of their own destiny. Thank you guys so much, for joining us. Now, Michelle, take us back to that day. What happened?
Well, obviously we all know how beautiful September 11, 2001 was in terms of the weather. And I remember just going into the building that day and just saying to myself, I really want to take a day off. It was just one of the most beautiful days. I went into the elevator and I got out on the 95th floor, as you mentioned. And I was walking through and I received a call from an ex-boyfriend of mine. And we were talking for about 2 minutes. And then when I finally hung up the phone, I heard a vibration. And I actually heard an airplane overhead. And I figured that that would never happen, especially even as high up as we were. We never experienced anything in terms of the roar of an airplane or anything like that, but we did. And I felt the airplane, the first plane go into Tower 1. The glass in the office that I was in shattered. The windows shattered, and the first thing I knew, I ran for the elevator. I ran for the exit. And as we got in, and we were just so terrified, we got out into the 78th floor, which is the main elevator bank. And when we got out there, we just saw people, crowds of people trying to get onto the elevator because even though it hit Tower 1, we were still extremely frightened as to what would happen to Tower 2. It took about 10 minutes for us to get to the lobby. And once we did, that's when we heard the engine of the second plane as it crashed into Tower 2. And through the journey from the time that I was on the 95th floor to the lobby, it was a time of reflection because a lot of people were going through the same thing as I was. We were all wondering, how are we going to get out? What is this world coming to? Are we under attack? And I remember going into the lobby and hearing on the PA system that everybody in Tower 2 was instructed to go back to work back wherever they were in Tower 2. And fortunately, I decided to walk out because it really was my destiny to leave and to take the direction of surviving. And so my coworker Andrew and I walked from the lobby of the World Trade Center into South Street Seaport. And while we were there, we noticed that the towers were just not going to be able to withstand the kind of crash that it endured. And after about half an hour, we saw the World Trade Center collapse. First the Tower 2 and then Tower 1. And the journey from the time that we were in the South Street Seaport, we both realized that our world has changed in terms of the way we thought about life and the way we thought about what other people in this country were going to be dealing with. And for me, it was a journey of healing.
Where were you exactly when that second tower came down? Were you near it? Where were you?
We were actually in the South Street Seaport by the pier. And when the tower was about to collapse, I noticed people actually running towards the water. And they were prepared to jump into the water below because of the way the tower was leaning. We all thought that the tower was actually going to topple on us, and we thought wrong. Obviously, it collapsed upon itself, which led to us taking that journey home.
Now, Randy, you're also a native from New York. You must have some strong ties to New York. How did you feel on that day?
It was pretty devastating. I was a computer technician at the time, and where we worked, there were screens all over the place, and I found out through a coworker what had happened, and not quite in touch with the severity. I thought it was just a small plane or something like that. And then after that, we were just glued to the television set. They let us out early that day. We left at 12 noon. The butterflies were on my stomach. It's really, it's almost unbelievable to explain the attachment I felt, as well as fellow New Yorkers that were working with us down here in Florida as well. It was almost a bond or a camaraderie amongst us. But I felt a lot of pain and was in touch with people back home immediately.
Now, Michelle, after that is obviously a very traumatic experience for you. You were in the middle of it. did you ever experience like a traumatic stress afterwards, like any sort of noise or smell? Did it trigger anything?
Absolutely. I remember spending the first 48 hours after it happened walking around in the street, just wondering if I was still alive. And that was obviously because of the trauma, but I remember anything that I smelled, burning rubber, even if a car would pass me in the street, gas exhaust. And usually we don't grow up in a thought process where we're just wondering why we would smell rubber and start to cry, or hear an airplane overhead. And at the time where I was living in New York, it was right by one of the major airports. So every 5 minutes I would hear an airplane roar above my head. So obviously for the first 2 weeks it was just extremely painful to deal with.
Randy, did you notice anything? Because when Michelle came here to West Palm Beach to work in the same place you were working, did you notice anything of her? Was she a little bit timid when she first came in?
I think a little bit. She was intimidating to me because she was beautiful and she was dressed to kill in a very expensive business suit. So I think everyone was kind of, flustered by that. But she was a little bit withdrawn, a little standoffish, I think, with a lot of people. And I'm just fortunate that she was able to open up to me so quickly and able to share some of her experiences. And I'm glad I was able to encourage her to share her thoughts. But yeah, there was a huge change over the weeks and months after we had met, just in terms of she just became much softer and less kind of rough around the edges from the whole situation.
So, and have you seen that change in yourself, Michelle?
Oh yes, I have. It's funny because when I removed myself from that situation, I really knew afterwards how important it was to do so. Many of my best friends still live in that area, in downtown Manhattan, and I really applaud them. I admire them for that. But I knew that it was time for me to leave, and not leave for good. My heart is in New York. It's just that I really needed to remove myself, and I feel better by doing that.
All right, Randy, you said that she was intimidating the first time you met her. But is this true? You guys met each other and then were engaged just 3 months later?
Yep, that's correct.
Some people might say you worked pretty fast.
Hey, I wasn't going to let anyone else get to her before me, so I had to lock her down.
It's funny because we met on October 2nd, 2001. By October 15th, I knew that opportunity was going to pass me by if I didn't take advantage of it.
And can you say it was love at first sight, or was it something that you, for example, Michelle, did you just think, okay, I suffered all that I did in 9/11. I just need to seize the day. I need to take control of my own destiny and just go with my gut feeling?
I believe that when I started to really talk to Randy and understand the fact that he was so attentive in what I was talking about. I was talking about my experience, and he listened to a point where I could feel his heart and I could feel his understanding and compassion. And with that grew love. And again, it only took a couple of weeks to figure that out, but yeah, it was a really beautiful experience.
And for Randy, was it the same thing for you, or is it more just like you just saw her and you're like, oh, okay, I need to know this girl, I need to...
No, I was almost coming out of a relationship. It was kind of a funny thing, so I wasn't really thinking in that direction, although I did find an attraction. So I really wasn't sure, but it was only a couple weeks where I knew. So I mean, maybe love at first sight might have been more for me because I was attracted to Michelle, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be reciprocated, but fortunately it was. So within a couple of weeks, I was pretty certain. So it moved pretty quickly.
All right, so you can keep looking back. You've been through a lot, but yet look at you here right now. You have a book coming out. You've been one of these women who's empowering other women, who's brought out your story by telling them that they should take control of their own destiny. So what type of message do you have for everyone?
I would tell everyone who is watching today just to really pursue your dreams and make point to know exactly what they are. Don't be afraid to ever achieve your dreams. Don't be afraid to not pursue them, because there are many people out there who can be naysayers and can tell you, you cannot do this, you'll never be able to do that. Only the power to understand where your beliefs and your strengths lie.
You both own a company, NMC Financial Services. Now, you say to take control of your own destiny. Now, in these economic times, your business is most likely suffering like many other businesses. Do you still keep this positive attitude that everything will be going all right?
Well, I think we both keep a positive attitude all the time, and I think you have to be creative during these times because with a downsize or a recession comes opportunity, and our mortgage business has actually continued to do well despite what has gone on. So I think it's just a matter of being more creative, using technology a little bit better, decreasing overhead when you can, and it's that's how you succeed in these tough times when no one else can.
Okay, and Michelle, you are a coach to people. You public speak a lot. You motivate people to get out and do things. You've won a Lifetime Achievement Award for New York Awards of Who's Who. So you've done a lot since 7 years ago. How do you get the strength to do everything?
I believe that the way I always had the strength, but because of the fact that I had a life-changing experience, sometimes it actually takes a life-changing experience for people to understand how powerful they are. And when I did, everything seemed to come in place. Everything. My relationship, the type of business that we had, and because of the fact that I got out of my shell and was able to network with thousands of people and sharing my message and not saying, well, this is who I am, wanted to find out more of who they are and how they can change their own life.
And is that the message that you both pursue in your book?
Absolutely.
Like, what else do you say in your book? Now, the book is called Pursuing Your Own Destiny.
Pursuing Your Destiny.
So how did it come about exactly? Did you just one night wake up and it's like, I should write a book?
Close.
Pretty much.
Close, actually. We were laying in bed one day, and we were just laying in bed. And what happened was Randy just said, you know what, babe, let's write a book. And it was really through meditating. It was really through understanding. We have a serious message. We have an empowering message to share with people, not just with our inner circle of friends. We have a message to share with the world because our experiences and our trials and tribulations as a couple and as human beings, we know can pretty much have a real impact on society today, especially in these economic times, especially.
And it comes out in this month, correct?
Well, we're in the final stages of editing the book, but we do intend to have it probably by January.
Yeah.
And do you think this is your only book, or do you think that after this book you might have more messages to give to people?
I believe we're definitely going to have more messages. We may have newer additions to the book. But Randy and I are both independent, and Randy has such a beautiful message to share about business ownership, entrepreneurship. I have a message about empowerment. So we definitely see ourselves probably branching off with Pursuing Your Destiny and also other books.
Now, everything's going well for both of you at this very second. Do you ever look back at that very day and think of the coworkers that you've left behind that weren't able to get on that elevator?
Actually, I think about them every day. And the reason why I do that is because they give me strength. And I believe that sometimes when no one's around and I'm meditating, I believe that there's a couple of people who still stick around and are cheering me on. And know that I will carry their message for the rest of my life.
Randy, do sometimes you look at her and you think that she's thinking about that day, or do you think that she's just completely new person, that she's just taken that day and used it as her advantage to strengthen her as a person?
Well, I think there's a piece of that day that will always be inside of Michelle, but I think she uses it to keep that fire going, to keep her going in the tough days, and she uses her ability to affect people and to help people, and I think that's her strength when she is having tough days, because I'm there when she's having the tough times, and we sit down, and a lot of other people don't see it, but it's amazing how strong she can be, because she keeps it with her, but she doesn't let it fester, and I think that's an amazing quality.
Now, the beautiful thing is you guys have your whole family together, correct?
Pretty much. We're in West Palm Beach, and my mother and Randy's parents live together in Broward County.
Oh, that's really good. So your whole family's together, and is that one thing that you like, your relationships are stronger now?
Oh, absolutely. My mother moved down from New York back in 2005, and for me, it was just knowing that she was up there alone, and I really wanted to be with her from that time, from the 9/11. And the fact that I'm able to speak with her every day and see her once every couple of weeks is really a blessing, because our relationship has flourished 1,000% since before that day happened.
All right, well, thank you both for coming here today. We wish you luck with your book and with your life and your business.
Thank you so much.
Well, it looks like that's all we have time for today. So we wish you luck again. And if you want to know more about the book, go to www.pursuingyourdestiny.com. This has been another edition of UMTV Spotlight. Thank you for watching.